Chosen ones. If you're hearing these words right now, there's a purpose behind it. You might think you just clicked on a random video, but trust me, there is no coincidence here. Something deep within your spirit drew you. Something inside you that's done with settling for less. Something that senses a higher truth about wealth and abundance. Because the reality is, for too long you've been fed a series of lies. Lies that tried to convince you wealth is out of reach, or that it belongs only to a select few, or that your background, your past, or even your present circumstances can disqualify you from living in financial freedom. Well, today, that lie breaks. This is your wake-up call, your moment to see clearly that you are indeed chosen, that you are divinely crafted for prosperity, and that everything you once believed was impossible is about to shift into glorious possibility. Take a deep breath. Feel that rush of hope surging through your chest, because right here, right now, the truth about wealth is being unveiled, and once you hear it, truly hear it, there's no going back to the old mindset of limitation. This is more than just talk. It's a sacred invitation to step into a dimension where money no longer dictates your life but becomes a tool you use to fulfill your purpose, bless others, and experience a freedom you've only dreamt of. If you're ready to break free from every financial chain that has held you captive, I invite you to make a bold declaration in the comments below. Type 777 as a sign of your agreement, as a prophetic act that signals to heaven and earth that you are stepping out of deception and into truth. Don't underestimate this simple action. It might seem small, but spiritual alignment often starts with a small seed of faith. By typing 777, you declare, I no longer accept the lies about wealth. I receive the truth that abundance is my birthright. Now let's talk about the lie that says wealth is only for certain people born under lucky stars or cushioned by privileged circumstances. Listen carefully. That's a narrative designed to keep you powerless. It's been repeated in your ear by society, by the media, maybe even by well-meaning friends and family who themselves believed it. But there's another story. One where ordinary men and women in scripture, in history, in modern times, rose to incredible levels of influence and provision. Not because they were special from the start, but because they tapped into a higher principle. They refused to remain confined by the status quo, and they chose to believe that if God made the heavens and the earth, he certainly wouldn't struggle to provide for them financially. Think about David, the shepherd boy. He didn't come from a wealthy background. He was overlooked, dismissed even by his own family. Yet destiny had its sights set on him. Through a series of events orchestrated by divine timing, David ascended to the throne and governed one of the richest kingdoms of his time. Did he hustle or manipulate his way there? No. He stayed faithful where he was, carried a heart of worship, acted bravely when confronted with a giant, and trusted that God was bigger than any obstacle. The result? A life marked by unprecedented favor both in leadership and in resources. What if you realize that the same force working for David is also working on your behalf? What if you embraced the truth that your lack of a certain upbringing, education, or network does not limit God's ability to elevate you financially? Chosen ones, this is the crux of what they never told you. Wealth isn't just about money. It's about alignment. Alignment with a purpose that's greater than yourself. Alignment with the Creator who owns everything. Alignment with the gifts inside you that were placed there to impact the world. Right now you might be looking at your bank balance and it doesn't reflect the destiny you sense in your heart. Or maybe you're in a career that barely pays the bills, feeling stuck and disillusioned. Don't let that temporary reality dictate your future. Circumstances are subject to change when you tap into spiritual truths. If you keep telling yourself it's always going to be this way, You effectively slam the door on opportunity. But if you begin to declare, "I'm chosen, and the resources of heaven back me up," you fling that door wide open. This isn't empty positive thinking, it's partnering with the higher laws of sowing and reaping, of expectation and manifestation, that have been woven into the universe since the beginning of time. So many people live with the notion that money is inherently evil, that desiring financial abundance makes you less spiritual or less humble. That's one of the greatest lies of all. Money itself is neutral. It's a tool, an amplifier of whatever heart motive you carry. In righteous hands it funds dreams, empowers missions, and brings relief to the hurting. In selfish hands, it breeds arrogance and greed. But here's the question: do you believe your heart is set on good, on blessing others, on creating positive change? If so, why would an unlimited God withhold the resources you need to fulfill that mission? Understand, the real issue isn't money, it's the posture of your heart. And if your heart is aligned with divine purpose, money becomes a servant rather than a master. Let this sink in. Your wealth is tied to your calling. When you embrace the calling on your life, whether it's creative, entrepreneurial, ministerial, or otherwise, you step onto a path where provision is released for the vision. Where vision is absent, provision lies dormant. Too often people chase money for money's sake, and they wonder why it never lasts. But money flows where destiny grows. That's why it's crucial to seek a clear understanding of your purpose. Ask yourself, what was I put on this earth to accomplish? Because once you clarify that, you tap into the stream of resources earmarked for that assignment. Yes, that's right. There's provision earmarked for your unique assignment. It's like an account in your name, waiting for you to withdraw from it by faith and obedience. When you start walking in obedience, taking steps aligned with your destiny, you'll be astonished at how doors open. Unexpected checks arrive. Business opportunities seem to materialize out of thin air. Strangers step in to help fund your dream. Some call it luck, but those who understand spiritual truths call it favor. It's that intangible ingredient that takes you from, "I can't see how this will work," to, "I can't believe how well this is working." If you feel that flutter of hope in your stomach, that's not mere emotion. It's your spirit responding to the truth. In fact, go ahead and comment 777 again. This time, do it as a double seal. A confirmation that you're done wrestling with the lie that says wealth doesn't belong to you. Shout it from the rooftops in your own way. I receive the truth that I am worthy of financial abundance. Now, let's dismantle another lie, that you have to struggle endlessly or compromise your values to become wealthy. Pop culture loves to show us images of ruthless tycoons who trample others on their way to the top. That's not the only path. In fact, that's a path drenched in karma, sowing seeds that eventually choke out whatever wealth was gained. Real, sustainable wealth, the kind that brings peace, freedom, and blessing, grows best in the soil of integrity, generosity, and faith. Think of Solomon. When offered anything in the world, he asked for wisdom, not wealth. But guess what came bundled with that wisdom? Riches beyond measure. And how did he use it? He built a temple, a center for worship and community. He became a beacon of prosperity that drew the curious from all over the ancient world. His wisdom and wealth became tools of influence, not instruments of oppression. The lesson is clear. If your heart is after wisdom and alignment with divine principles, wealth can be entrusted to you. You don't need to sacrifice your morals or sabotage others to climb the financial ladder. You just need to anchor yourself in the truth that your abundance, when used correctly, is a force for healing in a hurting world. Yes, there will be challenges. Yes, there will be moments of stretching, times when you question whether to remain ethical or cut corners for quick gains. But remember the bigger picture. Shortcuts might bring fleeting financial success, but they cost you your peace and your spiritual groundedness. True wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. It's about building a legacy that outlives you, a legacy of generosity, impact, and inspiration. When you operate from that standpoint, you realize that the journey is just as important as the destination. Now, I know some of you are ready to jump out of your seat thinking, all right, I'm done with excuses. I want to shift into that realm of abundance now. But how? First, guard your mind. Trash out every negative story you've internalized about money, like it's sinful to be rich, or I'll never succeed because I lack resources. Replace those lies with truths. I am chosen for prosperity. There is more than enough to fulfill my destiny. I am favored in every endeavor. Second, pair that mindset with action. Don't expect wealth to fall into your lap if you're not willing to develop your skills, network effectively, or invest wisely. Spiritual alignment doesn't negate practical diligence, it supercharges it. Suddenly your efforts bear more fruit, because you're moving in sync with divine timing and grace. Third, make gratitude your lifestyle. Celebrate small wins, thank God for the resources you do have right now, and watch how that posture invites more. Gratitude is the gateway to multiplication. Think about the story of the loaves and fish. When they gave thanks, what seemed insufficient multiplied to feed thousands. There's a hidden principle in that. When you appreciate what's in your hand, you unlock its potential to become more than enough. So many out there paint wealth as a zero-sum game, implying that if you gain, someone else must lose. That's yet another lie designed to promote scarcity thinking. In the kingdom mindset, there is an overflow. The idea isn't about scraping for scraps, it's about tapping into endless supply. When you succeed, you don't do so at the cost of others. In fact, you create space for others to succeed alongside you. You become an example, a benefactor, a giver. That's how real communities are transformed, through people who aren't just scraping by, but who have the surplus to invest in causes, in people, and in solutions for a better world. Let's talk about fear. Fear is perhaps the greatest thief of destiny. You might fear stepping out of your comfort zone, fear losing what you have, or fear ridicule if you fail. But realize that fear is rooted in the belief that you're alone in this. You're not alone. The same universe that placed stars in the heavens, the same creator that gave life to your body has your back. If you truly grasp that, fear would lose its grip on you. You'd walk into opportunities with confidence, make bold moves, and watch as the ground supports your steps. No, you won't be reckless, but you will be fearless, because you know a higher law is at play. Some might wonder, is it wrong to talk so much about money in a spiritual context? Absolutely not, if we remember that money is a tool, not an idol. It only becomes problematic when we elevate money above our relationship with the divine or above our integrity. But if we keep money in its rightful place, as a resource to fulfill our calling and love others, then discussing it openly is not only acceptable, but necessary. Too many good-hearted, purpose-driven individuals shy away from the topic of wealth, and as a result they remain underfunded, unable to make the impact they were designed for. Let's break that stigma right here and now. Talking about money isn't taboo. It's essential for those chosen to lead and influence this generation. Lean in for a moment and reflect. Have you ever felt the frustration of having a huge vision but lacking the finances to execute it? Do you sense the tension of knowing you're meant to do more, but doors seem locked because of financial limitations? That tension isn't random. It's a sign that you're carrying dreams bigger than your current environment. And guess what? That's a clear indicator that you're being called to step into a higher level of provision. Don't resent that tension. Let it propel you forward. Let it be the motivator that says, I won't settle for crumbs when I'm destined for the feast. Wherever you stand right now, whether you have a small business idea, a ministry, a non-profit vision, or a creative project, know that resources are looking for you as much as you are looking for them. The problem often isn't that there isn't enough money in the world. It's that we haven't positioned ourselves correctly to receive it. Positioning involves faith, yes, but also strategy and wisdom. It involves educating yourself about finances, budgeting, investments, and revenue streams that align with your calling. It's about stewardship. Once you start combining spiritual truths with practical steps, it's like you become magnetic to money. Opportunities will come knocking, not because you're chasing after them in desperation, but because you're radiating clarity, purpose, and readiness. And while you're on this journey, don't forget to sow seeds in others. Be generous. Sponsor someone else's dream. Give to those in need. The more you release, the more you affirm the truth that you're not bound by scarcity. That generosity acts like a signal flare that says, I trust in the abundance of my source. I know there's more coming, so I can afford to help. The paradox is that you end up creating more room in your own life for blessings to flow in. This is a divine principle, not a mere transaction. What you sow, you reap, pressed down, shaken together, running over. Now, if your heart is pounding with excitement, if you feel chains snapping off your mind, and if you're saying, yes, I want to live in that place of freedom and abundance, then act on it. Comment 777 again, but this time with even greater conviction. Let it be your anthem of release from every lie you've carried about wealth. Let it mark the moment you realize that you're not disqualified. Let it be a resonating echo that shakes off the doubts that tried to bury your dreams. Remember this key. You're not just chosen randomly. You're chosen because there's a unique assignment on your life that nobody else can fulfill. That assignment requires resources, influence, and open doors. Therefore, wealth is not a side pursuit, it's intertwined with destiny. When you shrink back from financial empowerment, you inadvertently shrink back from fully realizing your calling. Flip that script right now. Step into the fullness of who you were created to be. Let me remind you, it's okay if you don't have all the how-to steps laid out yet. Sometimes, faith means taking the next right step, even when you don't see the whole path. The puzzle pieces will come together. People who resonate with your mission will show up, new connections will form, your skill set will expand. One day you'll look back and realize that every twist and turn was orchestrated to bring you exactly where you needed to be. But be prepared. When you break out of the mold, not everyone will cheer you on. Some may question your motives, accuse you of greed, or simply envy the favor over your life. Don't be discouraged by that. Light irritates those who've grown accustomed to darkness. Your breakthrough will expose the lies they've believed, and sometimes that exposure feels uncomfortable. Love them anyway. Stay humble, keep your gaze forward, and trust that your success is a testimony that can ultimately inspire them to question their own limiting beliefs. Also, understand that wealth is multifaceted. It's not just about numbers in your bank account. True wealth includes relationships, health, creativity, and spiritual well-being. You can have millions of dollars, but be bankrupt in your soul. That's not what we're aiming for. We're aiming for holistic prosperity, where your finances flourish, your soul is alive, your family thrives, and your community benefits. That's the kind of wealth that stands the test of time and storms. That's the kind of wealth that tells the world the God you serve is both loving and limitless. Chosen ones, it's time to reclaim the narrative. They lied to you about wealth, told you it was too hard, too sinful, or too impossible. Now you know better. Now you see the truth. Wealth is part of your inheritance, part of your toolset for fulfilling a higher call. If you accept it with wisdom, stewardship, and a heart bent on doing good, nothing can stop you from rising. Let these words echo in your mind as you go about your day. I am chosen. Wealth is my portion. Generosity is my privilege. I reject the lie of lack. I embrace the truth of abundance. Memorize them, speak them over yourself, and watch as your internal reality begins to create your external circumstances. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes perseverance. But you will start to see signs, small breakthroughs leading to bigger ones, confirmation after confirmation, until one day you wake up living in what used to be just a dream. And if at any point you waver, come back to this message. Let it revive your spirit, remind you of who you are, and reignite the fire that might have dimmed. Surround yourself with people, teachings, and environments that cultivate belief in what's possible, rather than saturate you with doubt. You don't have room for doubt anymore. You're on a mission, and missions need focus. So as we continue, lock in these truths. You are not behind. You are right on schedule. Everything you've walked through was part of the preparation. Every setback was a setup for a comeback. Every disappointment stretched your faith muscle so you could carry the weight of greater blessings. Every tear you shed watered the seeds of your future harvest. Now it's time for that harvest to break forth. Yes, comment 777 once more if you're feeling that synergy between your past pains and your future gains. Because sometimes you have to physically engage with the word you receive. It seals the deal, cements the revelation, and revelation is what drives revolution in your life. When your mind is renewed, let's talk about the next step: obedience. Often, after receiving a revelation about wealth, you'll sense a prompting, a nudge to do something out of your comfort zone. Maybe it's to launch a business, apply for a grant, partner with a mentor, or sow a significant seed into someone else's life. Don't ignore that prompting. It may look scary or illogical, but breakthroughs often come wrapped in obedience. Think about the widow of Zarephath, who had barely enough flour and oil for one last meal. Yet she chose to share it with the prophet Elijah first. And from that act of faith, her resources never ran out. If she had held on to the lie that she had to guard her last morsel, she would have missed her miracle of ongoing provision. The point is, once you receive the truth, you have to act on it. Knowledge alone won't set you free. It's knowledge applied. So if your spirit is telling you to move, don't stall. Take the leap. You don't need every detail. You just need to trust the one who can multiply your every step of faith. Realize that your dream or business idea may be the very vehicle through which heaven's resources want to flow. You might look at it and say, "This is so small," but God looks at it and sees an acorn that will grow into an oak tree if you plant and nurture it. There's no shame in starting small. In fact, many of the greatest success stories begin in humble places. A garage startup, a kitchen table, a borrowed space. The difference is the willingness to believe in the seed you've been given. So, if you feel that stirring to begin something new, to pivot from your current path, or to double down on an old dream, do it. The worst that can happen is you learn a lesson. The best that can happen is you unlock a wellspring of abundance you never thought possible. Chosen ones, you might ask, why am I hearing this now? Because the world is shifting. Old systems are crumbling, new paradigms are emerging. We're in a season where those who are willing to break free from limiting beliefs can ride the wave of transformation. Wealth creation is accelerating for those who are aligned with higher principles, with compassion, with a vision that goes beyond personal gain. You have a front row seat to this shift. The only question is whether you'll stay seated or jump onto the stage where your destiny calls you. Now, I want you to imagine 6 months from now. Picture your financial landscape transformed. See yourself operating in such clarity and purpose that opportunities seem to chase you down. Feel the relief of bills paid without stress, the joy of blessing others without hesitation, the thrill of stepping into rooms you once felt unqualified for. That's not fantasy, It's a glimpse of what can happen when you say yes to the truth and no to the lies. Let that vision fuel you. Let it remind you that every sacrifice, every step of faith, every moment of perseverance is worth it. And when you reach that place, don't forget where you came from. Remember the nights you cried out for a break, the mornings you doubted yourself, the days you wrestled with quitting. Those memories will keep you humble, compassionate, and grounded. They'll remind you to extend a hand to those still on the journey. Because true wealth isn't just measured in what you can accumulate, it's measured in how many people you can lift up along the way. So, if your heart is aflame and your mind is racing with possibilities, take one more action. Comment 777 once again as a final stamp on this unfolding revelation. Let it stand as your signature of agreement. You've heard the truth. They lied to you about wealth, but now you know better. You know that with divine favor, with a heart of integrity, and with the courage to act, you can step into realms of financial freedom that will blow your mind. You've just set foot on a path that not only changes your personal circumstances, but has the power to reshape how future generations in your family line perceive wealth. You're literally breaking generational curses of poverty and stepping into generational blessings of abundance. Breathe in that fresh perspective. Let it wash over your doubts. Let it whisper to you at night, reminding you that you are not a prisoner of your past, but a pioneer of a new future. Keep speaking life over yourself. Keep sowing seeds of kindness and generosity. Keep your eyes open for opportunities, knowing they come in all shapes and sizes, and keep that conversation with the Creator ongoing, because He's your ultimate guide through every door and every open window. The dawn of a new chapter is upon you, chosen ones. Your financial story is being rewritten line by line to reflect hope, expansion, and purposeful prosperity. You're shaking off the chains that tried to keep you small. With every choice aligned to truth, you multiply your capacity for more influence, more resources, more blessings, and most importantly, more impact. Let that sink in. You are chosen for this. You are capable of this. You are worthy of this. Now, as we stand on the edge of deeper waters, I sense many of you are ready to dive in. This is where the journey really begins, where you decide if this message will be just another pep talk or a turning point that transforms your life. Let it be the latter. Let it spark a revolution in your heart, mind, and finances. A revolution so profound that months from now, people will look at you in awe, asking, "What happened? You're glowing, you're thriving. Where did this unstoppable momentum come from?" And you'll smile, remembering this very moment, the moment you broke free from the lie. If you still sense any residue of fear, let it dissolve right now. Lean on the reassurance that your supply is backed by the same power that breathed galaxies into existence. Understand that your success doesn't diminish others, it creates a template for what's possible. The world needs more good people rising to positions of influence and wealth. People who will not hoard riches, but distribute them. People who will innovate solutions, fund charitable works, and bring light where darkness once ruled. That's you. That's why you're chosen. Comment 777. To seal it one last time, letting heaven, earth, and your own soul hear it loud and clear. You are stepping out of lack. You are embracing truth. You are walking in a realm of limitless possibilities. Because, yes, they lied to you about wealth. But the truth has found you and it refuses to let you go.